Hello and welcome to yet another one of our ranking videos where we rank an entire franchise. This is our first one shot like this. I'd like to thank my co-host here, Bob.
Hey, Rich.
Could I be Mike at least?
Hey, Dan.
Hi, Bob. How's it going?
COGUST. Is that a state of mind?
In as much as I now feel like I need to detox after COGUST, it must be some sort of state I've entered.
Okay.
But yeah, COGUST was like an idea we had that we thought was a really good one. We're just like, we're gonna go in and we're gonna play 6 cover shooters in a row, and then that got upgraded to 7 cover shooters in a row. That's right. We played every Gears of War game. We touched Gears Tactics, that counts, like one touches home base.
Mm-hmm.
And we played Kill.Switch. Take aim, take cover, take over. Take cover, take aim, take over.
Ooh, yeah.
Because those are the 2 things you do to take over.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But we played that. Now, much to Gears of War 1's benefit, we actually played Kill.Switch way after Gears of War 1, which I assume that's the same for everyone who reviewed Gears 1 back when it came out. Kill.Switch, though critically acclaimed, like though it performed well, was not exactly known by everyone.
No, that was a much smaller thing.
Yeah, I don't at all recall EGM, GamePro, or anyone just being like, Kill.Switch, game of the year.
I don't think any of the Gears of War reviews I read back in the day were like, the sequel to Kill.Switch.
Right. No one says the spiritual successor to Kill.Switch. Who knows though? Maybe there was one magazine and that guy's watching this video now and he's like, I tried! I tried to tell you and you wouldn't hear me!
Sorry.
Highly recommend the Xbox version. It looks a lot nicer.
It also runs way better.
It runs way better. It's not even close. Plus it's not 480i, so you get that. But we didn't start with Kill.Switch.
No, of course not.
We can't talk about that yet. We gotta go talk about Gears of War 1.
Okay. Things happened in Gears of War 1. Things happened in Gears of War 1, right? The tongue twister.
Yeah.
Things happened in Gears of War 1, right, Dan?
Gears of War 1 is the story of Marcus Phoenix, the strongest man in the world who was unjustly judged by a kangaroo court, escaping prison to go find out his dad is Bardock and might have a way to solve the problem. At the end of the game, you beat up a big bad guy who doesn't say anything and solve the problem.
Yeah, okay. That seems to sum it up.
Yeah, that summed it up pretty well. We played the remake. We played the Ultimate Edition. Not that Ultimate. I feel like they flattened the difficulty to make it a little bit more sober. Mm-hmm. But then they made all the graphics look worse.
Yes, a lot of things that were way more impressive on the Xbox and looked better just up-resed. Were replaced with new textures, which were really dark and missing a lot of the little details.
Yeah, we were playing on a Series X for this entire month, and the original actually ends up looking better on a Series X than the Ultimate Edition made for the Xbox One does.
Yeah, they took out all the blue highlights and stuff. It was strange.
That is true, yeah. It's very strange. As a person recommending Gears, I feel like to a brand new person who's just never played one of these games before, I would recommend just going and playing the original, but set the difficulty low.
Yeah, because I bet the casual mode is just the normal mode.
Right, the way they phrased it was really weird. It was like casual, hardcore, and something even more ridiculous.
Yeah, which you don't even get that unless you beat it.
Right. So we thought the hardcore was like them being like, you're such a badass. Because, old DOS games like had really quirky names for difficulties. I thought that was normal.
Yeah, I thought it was, well, this game is hardcore, so that's what we'll name this mode for normal.
And unfortunately, maybe we just selected the hard difficulty when we went to the original right after the remake. So we don't have a point of comparison for the easy mode. But I don't know, Gears of War 1, the interesting thing about Gears of War 1, no one has ever prepped me for this. No one goes, hey, nothing happens. Like, when you get to the later Gears of War games, there are set pieces, there are moments, there are characters trying to get to places, and there's kind of a thing to it. Gears of War 1 is like a series of failures and not bombastic sets, especially compared to later Gears.
Look, Gears of War 1, you push a car. It's on fire, everyone, like, hoots and hollers over.
It is truly bizarre that is, like, the most... how do I put this? The most game design part of Gears 1 is the part where it's like, oh, there's a dark street and this car's on fire, so you can push it and stay out of the darkness because the bats will one-hit kill you.
Yes, those one-hit kill bats are a weird decision, but they were one of the few mechanics in there.
It reminded me a lot of like Lords of Shadow 2. Lords of Shadow 2 with its do some rat stealth, and if they see you, you'll just instantly die.
Right.
Try again.
You explode.
Right.
Which is very similar to what happens in this.
Yeah, no, you're just pulped immediately. Just
gibbed.
Yeah.
One hit.
Yeah, I don't know. When you look back on Gears 1, or when I look back on Gears 1, I sit there and think about like, not a whole lot of moments in that game. It's pretty, like when you play Kill.Switch, which we'll get to later, but when you play Kill.Switch, it almost feels like it's more than this. Gears of War 1 has an aesthetic that's iconic. It's got the Lancer. But aside from that, I feel like that and the Hammer of Dawn, that's it for personality in Gears 1.
You fill holes.
That's true.
That was a unique concept too for that time. Like, hey, there's enemy spawners, but you need to fill them up with a grenade.
Yeah, Gears of War is basically a franchise about buff dudes going around in the Force to Die filling holes.
Yes.
That's true, actually. And it's this nice horror aesthetic, right, that I appreciate in Gears 1, which is lost a little when you get to the later ones and they just erupt out of the ground.
Yeah, it feels like it starts to go away in 2 and it's just gone by 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, but I feel like, looking back on the game, it was really unmomentous in a way where it's flat, it's forgettable. It's not as remarkable as a game as like the later Gears, or to some extent even Kill.Switch. But we'll get to that later. So obviously, since this is a ranking video,
yeah,
Gears of War 1 currently our top game.
Yeah, top and bottom. Immaculate.
It is the beginning of the ending. It is the alpha and the omega. But we gotta move on.
Yeah, of course.
Gears of War 2 is a game that shows you the horrors of war. First through friendant and then through wifant.
Oh man, this is rough plot-wise.
Yeah, I'm gonna choose to not focus on the plot here because it's, written by a person with bricks for hands. I'm not gonna focus on that. I'm gonna focus on just the gameplay.
Sure. That's the most positive way to look at it, for sure.
Gears of War 2, outside of the plot, is like my favorite game this month. It has cover shooter gameplay, but it also has a bunch of amazing and fun set pieces. It's important to be both. It's important to be technologically amazing and fun. Because if you don't do both, you just end up in a place where it's like, oh, this looks great, but I'm so bored.
Yeah.
Which I feel like some of the Uncharted games have ended up there, where it's just like, this is amazing, I hate doing this.
Yeah, 3, I feel like 3 is the one. Like,
3's definitely gotta be the one. Meanwhile, Gears 2, like every moment's really great. You're on a convoy, you're operating the turrets, you got people coming in, you have these great vistas, and that's like set piece 1 in this game that has like 9, 10, 12 set pieces.
Yeah, it jumps you on that convoy really quickly. You're on these gigantic trucks.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Yeah.
And this whole game has this thing of like, we got a whole bunch of more enemies on screen.
Yeah, that's right. Gears of War 2's gimmick is that they got the Unreal Engine to just render a ton of enemies in swarms. So you have a number of moments that are like, defend from the giant enemy attack.
Right, and you're just wiping out hordes of them, and it's like, you don't see that in any others afterward. I don't feel like there's a single other Gears where it's like, I'm fighting this many dudes.
Yeah, Gears 3 definitely pulls back on that. But we need to, some fair fucking coverage here. Bob, it's worth noting, they do not have as many soldiers on screen as Heavenly Sword does, which means it's a worse game. Please ignore the frame rate.
Yeah, I was like, it also runs like twice the frame rate of Heavenly Sword.
I would, we played on a Series X, who knows? Maybe if the PS3 had some successor 2 generations later.
That would help it a lot, for sure.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could boost PS3 games to have playable frame rates.
That would be amazing.
It would. That's not happening.
No, it's not, never. We can just sit here and dream about it all we want, but that won't make it real.
What if this game on the PS3 ran good is a real hypothetical that people have been wrestling with for many years?
Maybe it wasn't the worst gen ever.
Maybe it was fine.
Maybe it was fine.
It was great, actually. I love Matt Hazard.
No one loves Matt Hazard.
Someone out there loves Matt Hazard. Tell us.
Yeah, this.
Right in the comment section. I love Matt Hazard. Who is that? But yeah, no.
Look it up.
Gears 2, tons of set pieces. The story has a pacing and a drive to it that I feel like Gears 1 was kind of lacking.
Yeah, Gears 1 really has a stop and go issue of, okay, we gotta do this. They do it accomplishes nothing, and then their new task just appears.
Yeah, they're like, oh geez. Oh geez, Rick, this didn't do anything. And then they have to get, you know, Marcus's dad, who's just Rick. You know, I'm okay with it being Bardock now that I've entertained other terrible possibilities.
Fair. I'd much rather be some ripped dude who's also a scientist.
Yeah, because that is funny, and I love that about Gears. Gears of War aesthetic hits on all cylinders when you stick it in a lab coat.
Yeah, it's just...
I could crush a car with my arms, but I'm also, ladies, I'm also a brain.
That's what's really important to
That's
me.
what's, you know, I work out at the gym. I legitimately work out at the gym, but I also work out at the library.
None of the women, though, they don't do that.
No, what's up with Gears of War?
I don't know.
I was like, well, obviously none of them are going to be combatants, so we'll have some sort of logistical thing of like, maybe that's a part of the military thing.
Right, maybe everyone's on super soldier juice.
And Anya's there the whole time, and then when we get to Gears 3, jumping ahead, she becomes a combatant, but it is just Anya still.
Yeah.
It's like, why aren't you huge? What's that about? Do you think the fan base would have been like, ugh, gross? Like, I don't know. Do you think Cliffy B would have been like, oh, this is gross, I don't want huge woman?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't want huge woman. He's bashing this into the keyboard.
There was some interview with Bulletstorm creators.
People Can Fly, yeah.
People Can Fly, yes.
Okay.
Where they were talking about designing the female character in that.
Really? Sophia?
No, in Bulletstorm.
Oh, okay. Sorry, we're in Gears month
I know,
mode. I was thinking Gears of War Judgment, but in Bulletstorm, okay.
Yeah, there was a weird comment in there of like, I needed to get my team to design a tough woman that's attractive, and they kept just giving her massive boobs, and I was like, look, no, this isn't what this character is, but they just didn't get it. I'm like, oh my god, I wonder if this is anybody that's worked on Gears as well.
Well, no one in Gears, to my recollection, has giant boobs, so at least that's a thing.
No.
At least that's something. You don't sit there and be like, Anya joins the forces and then.
That would be funny, but no,
the muscle energy is stored in the chest. See, the other Gears guys, they also have giant chests, but Anya, she didn't until they gave her the serum. The super soldier serum.
It everyone in different ways.
Yeah, it just makes you huge. It's not specific about how, it just happens to make all the guys barrel shaped and all the women like really weird online art.
It's really weird that we don't get any sort of lore to the universe around what's up with these soldiers, why they are like this or anything. It's just like, this is how things are.
I mean, a lot of the original trilogy, they don't get into...
Yeah, they don't get into lore behind anything.
Like, they kind of go, hey, look at this. They were experimenting with human children, and they look like weird cryptids. Wonder if that means anything, and then they never touch on it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that was maybe this is... Because, like, by the end of that game, it really was maybe this is how the Locusts were created, and then they just put that down. They're like, we're not interested in that. We're interested in this great battle between Marcus's dad, the smartest man in the world, and the Locust Queen, but we're not there yet, so... Because his dad doesn't do shit in 2.
Yeah, I guess not.
No,
you think he's dead for all 2.
He's the teaser.
Right.
He's the teaser where it's just like, Marcus, this is your dad, I'm calling you. Wouldn't it have been good if John DiMaggio also voiced his dad and he had to sound older and gruff?
Yeah, that would be pretty great.
Oh, I'm so old.
You believe me that I'm really old right now, right?
I'm so old right now. Do you smoke? What is your deal? But yeah, anyway, Gears of War 2, not a fan of the plot.
No.
I think even ignoring the things that are like, and heavy-handed as hell. Like, you know.
They only had one trick to make you feel anything over the Gears stuff. It's really sad.
And this is like the first game to really standardize this.
Yeah, I guess 1 didn't really have any moments like that. They didn't have anything that was trying to be sad and emotional.
Yeah, nothing really hits me as that. And that this is important. They're going to put this down as, you know, storytelling tools for later people. Your Virgil in that game is like some cool enemy troop, and you do a boss battle, and it's like almost the best designed boss battle in the first 3 Gears games, because they're not really known for a really great boss design.
No, they are Western shooters, and typically you don't get a good boss fight out of that.
Yeah, I feel like he had a pretty good boss fight. I felt like it should have kept going. There should have been more to it, and it shouldn't have ended like, and then we had the chase. Because he doesn't even die to you, he just dies on air travel.
Yeah, you start a massive chase sequence, which is cool, but also overstays his welcome, becomes the worst set piece in the game.
Because you just got done doing one.
Right.
Like not even a full hour earlier or something. And then you keep doing this, and you're just going over the fields, and the shooting just keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and you're like...
Yeah, it's twice as long as basically any other set piece in the game.
And it's not fun enough to justify it. It's kind of the weakest set piece, but I still think overall the set pieces in this game are pretty great.
Oh yeah, because there's also like riding the Brumak or Brumak. Brumak. That was really cool.
Bernie Mac?
Bernie Mac, absolutely.
So you're riding the giant Bernie Mac. That is really cool. Isn't that the E3 clip?
I think so. It's
Isn't
basically the end of the game.
E3, and it's basically the end of the game. Yeah, Gears 2, also, another thing with the plot is the fact, like, it retcons 1 by being like, no, the locusts are still a thing.
Yeah.
Which the Ultimate Edition 1 already makes it clear, like, no, there's gonna be a locust queen. She's important. She's what matters. She's gonna sit there and be like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna fight you next game. I'll show you then. And then the game ends, and I'm like, wow, that was a pretty good ending until the Locust Queen showed up and said all that dumb shit.
They do not understand. They do not know why we wage this war. Why we cannot stop. Will not stop. Why we will fight and fight and...
Every game it feels like we beat all the locusts and they were all gone, and then they're just back again anyway.
So in Gears 2, you drown the last city humanity has, but it's okay because this is your chance. You sink the city to cause a dam to break, to flood the ocean into the underground, and that's gonna do it.
Right.
It's finally gonna take care of the locust, but then Gears 3 happens 2 years later, and it's like, we're still fighting all these fucks.
Yeah, it didn't really solve anything.
And they had the new type of weird, like, jellyfish almost like things.
Yeah, those were the Hive? No. I don't remember what they called them. They were
Almost there.
They had the green goo, sorry, the yellow
Lambent.
Goo. The Lambent. But before we get to 3, 2 also has a lot of cool ideas, not just for set pieces, but for in-level mechanics. Like they have literally bugs that move around as walls and other things like that, where it's like, you know you're making a cover shooter and you need to spice things up, so you're constantly adding new things to the environment to spice it up.
Yeah, they innovate through their content to make the cover shooter gameplay stay fresh.
Yes.
The whole time. I feel like they do a really good job of that. In fact, even the split road idea that 1 has works better here.
Yeah, because a lot of times they'll do that thing where player 1 goes one way and then player 2 covers them from the side.
Yeah, and you'll even have moments where it's like, okay, this one can get this far, and now this one can get this far, and now this one can get this far. Like you had these moments where you just help each other progress.
Yeah.
And that actually is really great and works surprisingly well. Like, I remember during Gears 1, I talked about how Call of Duty, you know, Modern Warfare, I believe 1 or 2, not sure, haven't revisited those games recently, planning on it. They have one person doing the aerial strike and another person running through the trenches. And I was noting that, I was like, I feel like they understood the co-op gameplay experience better than this does. And then Gears 2 happened, and it's like, okay, they actually get it now. Like, that guy's up in a sniper's nest. He's trying to drop these things for the wall worm to keep going through there to provide cover for his friend. Or Bob ran way ahead before I understood the mechanic, and then eventually I figured it out. And on our next playthrough,
Yes.
because I died, on that time, we engaged with the mechanic correctly. But yeah, no, they do a really good job of that.
Yeah, it's actually like built for co-op in a cool way. This is the sort of thing that these like Uncharted didn't have.
Yeah, the co-op and the multiplayer and horde mode are really where Gears shines compared to, you know, Uncharted.
Right.
Uncharted definitely has more spectacle than most Gears games. Uncharted 2 has some amazing stuff in it, and it's kind of it's kind of like flooring.
I'm trying to remember which Gears game literally tried to remake an Uncharted bit where you were in a room that fell down.
I think that was in 2 during the destroyed city near the end.
Okay. And it's just,
But here's the thing, I think that came out before Uncharted 2, so I think Uncharted 2 ships the next year, and it's just like, oh, hey, check this out.
we did it way cooler.
Hey, because yeah, Gears 2 should have been 2008. Because the cadence goes Resistance and Gears of War 1, which, sorry, Resistance. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's not very fair.
Resistance and Gears of War 1, 2006. Resistance 2 and Gears of War 2, 2008. Uncharted 1, 2007. Uncharted 2, 2009. So, really, some people at Naughty Dog went, we're going to show them now that we're not doing, which they described in their own words as brain surgery with a chainsaw, because the tools to make Uncharted 1 were just so rough.
Right.
That they were struggling, because that thing wasn't even an engine specifically designed to make Uncharted.
Of course.
It was an engine for everyone in the world to use to make games. Because if you look at the history with that, I'm gonna get back to Gears, I promise. If you look at the history of that, Naughty Dog made the Jack engine. They licensed that out to Insomniac to make, and I think Sly eventually, I'm not sure, to make their games.
Right.
You know, Ratchet and Clank is built on the Jack engine. So the thought was there to do that for Uncharted. It's like, here's the Uncharted engine, but they were trying to hit such new highs. They're like, this is not.
Yeah, they can't do it again.
We didn't do this right. This is awful. So yeah, no, of course someone at Naughty Dog was probably like, we can outdo that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's nice building falling over for fucking idiots. And then they go and make theirs and they're like, oh, look at that. And of course, that's what they show at E3. Their hyper-specifically better version of a thing in Gears 2.
Right, because of course, these are competing franchises in the same genre.
Yeah, they're in the same fucking genre, and they're both clearly inspired by Kill.Switch, because Gears is made by the lead gameplay designer, Gears 1 and 2 specifically, lead gameplay designer, I believe it was, for Kill.Switch.
Yes.
And they came over and they did the same thing for Gears, and it's like, yeah, no wonder it's the same game.
I think the biggest thing I learned this month was that, and the fact Cliffy B is a total hack.
Yeah, I mean, I have to sit here and be like, so he's not the character designer, we've seen that guy.
Yeah, a totally different guy.
Yeah, totally different guy, totally huge guy.
Yes.
As I, have seen online. Maybe that's fake.
It was in the end credits.
Yeah, I saw him in the end credits, but he didn't look as huge in the end credits as he did in the other photo.
Bob was a complete moron to trust the internet. Turns out that the tweets that were going around showing the supposed character designer for Gears of War were in fact pictures of Chris Perna, a completely different art director at Epic. As shown here in Cliffy B's now deleted tweet, which he deleted a shitload of tweets, but that's not really what we're here to talk about. The character designers for Gears of War were Jerry O'Flaherty and Jay Hawkins, who are nowhere near as huge as this dude. Better think twice before you trust the internet again, Bob.
Like, he didn't come up with the lead gameplay in as much as the cover shooter stuff that's from Kill.Switch, which Kill.Switch, shockingly refined game.
Yeah, great game for 6th gen. Amazing for shooters on that gen.
But unfortunately, we got to talk about Gears 3 first, don't we?
I think so. I think that's the order we did this in.
That's the order we played this in. So,
I guess I should mark down, obviously Gears 2 is about Gears 1.
Yeah, Gears 2 is above Gears 1. You need to write that in your notebook, your bleach notebook.
All right.
Open late so you can eat great. Only place open so you can eat at all if your fridge is empty.
Yeah. Ugh.
So currently our number 1 is Gears 2 and our number 2 is Gears 1.
Yes.
I look forward to this not being the case because that's just confusing. That's just swapping numbers. The opening of Gears 3, a little bit of walk and talk, a little bit going around on this boat. You're getting some, lore, what happened since last time. Game looks way better.
Yeah, no, the visuals have increased quite a bit.
I believe this is the one where we had to play in lower res to get the full 60 frame rate on Series X.
Yeah.
Up until that point, we could just play 4K 60 and it would be fine. Gears 3 is too intense though. Gears 3, it's introducing you to all this world stuff while you're on this boat. And since I'm damaged, I'm just thinking about the Resident Evil Netflix series.
Tragic.
Yeah. You know, you sit there and you're like, I experience all these things in order to gain knowledge. And it's like, sometimes it's not worth it.
The knowledge is too cursed.
Sometimes it just stays with you and you think, oh, that was a mistake.
Yeah, I sure do have that Dom wife scene stuck in my head forever.
I kind of wish that wasn't in that game. That would be cool.
Yeah, no, it would be great.
It would be so great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gears 3, you do that. You do battle with the sea monster. It's like, oh, this is cool. Like, we are out at sea having these battle with these monsters. And then you get help from Coltrane in this. Now, Gears 2 is when Coltrane starts to sort of come into it and be like more front and center.
Yeah.
Gears 1 had nowhere near enough Coltrane.
No, not at all.
Gears of War 3, Coltrane and Baird are helping us from up on a bridge and stuff, and we don't know what's up with that, so we're gonna put on this mech suit, we're gonna fight some stuff. And then the moment the set piece ends, the moment this opening ends, it's like, find out what Coltrane was up to. And I'm like, oh, this is cool, except for the part where I know what they're about to run into and how it's solved.
Right.
That's not great. Games need to stop doing this, and so do most narratives, frankly.
Yeah, it's really hard to nail this out of order storytelling stuff. There are so many people who just can't do it.
Yeah. You spend the rest of the game not playing Coltrane enough.
No, you never play him again. Him and Barrett do their own things and obviously are going somewhere and doing stuff, but you don't ever play them again.
And it was during this moment that Marcus has to go in the town run by Ice-T
Oh, God.
that I start realizing there was a whole part of this game where you played as Coltrane and Baird. And then I thought about, this was supposed to be another story mode, wasn't it? It was like play through as the main team and play through as the B team. And then I thought about Resident Evil 6. And I was like, it's very fitting for like the end of the generation Gears of War game to have similarities in concept to Resident Evil 6's insane bloat.
Right, yeah, games, they had to get bigger and they didn't know how, so they had to add more and more content.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Resident Evil 6 is a hilarious case of something spending way too much money it could never make back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really get the feeling with Gears 3 that it was supposed to be more of a thing playing as Coltrane and Baird and doing things.
Yeah.
And then we get to Judgment. And Judgment's like little extra campaign is literally exactly like 3 mechanically, control scheme, and everything else. It looks like 3's assets, which Judgment looks pretty different.
Yes.
And it's you playing as Baird and Coltrane. I'm like, I knew it. I told you. I would have liked it if either we got the extra campaign where you play as Coltrane and Baird, or the Gears franchise just went to Coltrane at some point, because I don't think Marcus Phoenix is as interesting a character.
Yeah, Coltrane and Baird make a much better team. And honestly, Baird should not be the main character of that team. It should be Coltrane. I don't know what they're thinking with Baird being the front man for that.
So a bunch of racists
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it.
said you can't have this Gears of War game have the main character be Coltrane. And then the people talking to the racists went, well, obviously it could be Baird and it'll explain why he's not in charge of the troop anymore, right? And they're like, that'll be good enough. Alleged racists.
Yeah, nothing confirmed.
Yeah, we don't know. I haven't talked to them in a private, place in the South where they feel comfortable just letting it out. Yeah, no, it's stupid. It's hideously stupid. I have no idea what they're thinking. Coltrane is the talent. Coltrane is the interesting personality. Baird is a great counter to him. That combo is set up like a dish. You have the spices complement the meat. It's perfect. And then you go back to Marcus and Marcus 2.
Yeah, the Marcus whoever combo is always bad. It has so little going on, no matter who they stick him with.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about who do they stick him with after Domint, which, yeah, they do that again.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's time for the player to feel, and then they hit the kill an important character button in a way that's contrived and kind of awful.
Yeah.
And this was the most farcical one yet, I think.
He helped them escape by nearly killing them. Good job, Dom.
Bob, Dom knew that unlike the zombies, our entire main cast can survive a giant gasoline system going off right next to them, these fuel lines exploding 5 feet away. The zombies couldn't stand it.
No, well, the zombies are explosive, which honestly in its own way adds to the danger to the main characters.
Yes, a little bit, yeah.
Oh, man.
They played Mad World, though, so it was classic.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't where I just put the game down when I was playing it last time.
Not a fan of the dominant scene, obviously. And worse yet, I actually thought the scene before it was really tasteful. Where he's
yeah.
praying to his wife, basically. He's talking to her and explaining Marcus is trying to save the world and he's got to help him. Like, I thought that worked.
Yeah, that was pretty well done and somewhat touching. Like, way more so than you expect from a Gears game, because they are the most ham-fisted trash imaginable.
Yeah, the weirdest thing is, like, they set up Dom being completely devastated by his wife at the beginning.
Yes.
And I feel like most of the game, they don't really like, you don't get the idea that Dom is just a devastated person. He seems pretty on the level the whole time.
I mean, that even applies to 2, where after the wife scene, he's right back to doing his quips or getting headshots. Like,
that's true.
They didn't record a single new line of dialogue to try and make this smoother.
Yeah. Absolutely true.
But aside from the story in 3, I think that the more important part is the gameplay and how plain and devoid of stuff it is.
Yeah, the best way to phrase it, because Chris Wolfhart co-hosts on Big Think Dimension, weekly gaming podcast we run. If you're somehow watching this and not watching that, go check it out. Anyways, the way he started to describe Gears of War was using a hash brown bowl metaphor.
Yes.
And he was like, well, they did this with it. And I was like, no. It's just potato.
They didn't even cook it.
Gears of War 3, they might have added a spice, but it's just potatoes. There are no veggies, there are no cheeses, there's nothing. You will eat this entire bowl of potatoes and grease.
Yeah, their idea of a set piece in 3 is, here is a mech. Cool, right? No, you have to carry things with it. You don't get to fight with it.
I think near the end, they actually had you do the cool thing. Either that or that was in the Judgment Side campaign.
Maybe.
Because weirdly enough, that Judgment Side campaign, I feel like is better than most content in 3. Not the least of which because it involves Cole, Straight, and Barrett. And they even involve...
Paduk?
Yes. Paduk. We'll get to Judgment.
Yeah, we will.
Gears 3, it genuinely feels like that. It feels like they're not innovating enough on the cover shooter stuff like 2 did.
No, there's like no flair to the zones like 2 had.
And the set pieces aren't fun when they do have them, because they have a few, but they're not remarkable and they're not fun. So yeah, it just gets tired by the end. This is weird, because keep in mind, our whole shtick here, for people who don't watch our channel, especially over on Twitch, we stream through, like, we do 12-hour streams once a week, every Friday, basically.
Yeah.
And we go through an entire game. And on the theme months, we just keep going through the games. This was the only time in any theme month ever I hit the 3rd game and go, I don't think this was a good idea. It feels like I just ate rocks. My stomach feels full, and I'm not, like, getting nutrients.
Yeah, I think that this is like maybe an hour longer than 2.
Yeah.
But it feels twice the length.
Oh yeah, it's really, when you look back on it, you feel like you did way more.
Yeah.
Like of just stuff. Because there isn't a variety of things you're doing. It just feels like you spent forever doing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through all the set pieces that do happen in 3, and they are just all boring. Like, fly the blimp.
Yeah.
You don't get to control the blimp. The blimp moves really slow. Using the guns on the blimp isn't fun because everything's so far away.
Yeah.
It's hard to even judge the shots well.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like tight and responsive for, I just shot, he's getting hit, we're seeing something explode in blood, like so many parts of 2 did.
Go on, I'm sure they don't mind hearing.
But yeah, it stinks. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel good.
I think that's really weird because it parallels the Uncharted situation, where Uncharted 3 is also like the disappointing Uncharted from the trilogy.
Right?
Uncharted 1 gets a pass because it was their first try at it, and it's kind of like, fine. And then Uncharted 3 is the one where it's like, something got loose in this machine.
It doesn't feel as bad with Uncharted because with Gears, it feels like it's supposed to be a trilogy. Like this is all part of one story going through.
Yeah, they sure keep doing the Marcus Dad story.
Yeah, they
and
really...
then they introduce the Locust Queen, so it really is just those 2 things, the whole...
Yeah, they really want us to feel like this is about this one more, whereas Uncharted, it's just a new zany adventure he's on each time.
That's not true. Uncharted 3 really has the same tone.
Oh, does it?
Where
I
it's
don't
just
remember.
like, oh man, this was it, I'm finally out.
Oh.
So it's really funny when 4 immediately follows that up, does it again, but actually nails it throughout the whole story, and then lands it
Yeah.
perfectly. It feels great when Uncharted 4 just ends, and you're like, man, you sealed that. 3's like, we're gonna have him stand on a fucking airplane field and talk to Elena. But yeah, Gears 3 is disappointing in the same way that Uncharted 3 is disappointing, but it does it through different methods. Uncharted 3 still has a ton of set pieces, and it looks amazing.
Right.
Gears 3 does not have a ton of set pieces. It looks better, sort of, because as we were just saying, they cut back on the enemy amount.
Yeah.
You don't get swarms nearly as often, and when you do, they are smaller swarms.
I feel like it's way less important. What they did there, like having more enemies is more important for a series than having
Higher fidelity.
Yeah, higher fidelity.
Because the thing is, Gears 3 does look remarkably better than 2.
Yes.
Like, visually speaking, much better looking. I don't give a shit, though,
Right.
because especially now, we're now in 9th gen, so 7th gen kind of looks like ass by and large, unless you have really good art design.
Yeah, and I think the art design gets better, and a lot of that could be been enough to make it look visually stunning.
Right. Yeah, so I don't know. At the end of the day, I felt like Gears 3 pretty rough, pretty disappointing. I found the story, and this is important to note because
Okay.
this is for later games, it's going to be important to reference this fact and how I feel. I feel like the story of Gears of War 3 has important things in it, important things happening in it.
Yeah.
It's about people who matter, it's about things that matter, and you go to places with meaning.
It's still disappointing, but the thought is there.
Yes.
Like, I think that the end of 3 is really disappointing because they don't follow through and tell you what the locusts are.
Yeah.
They are about to do it, and then they kill the queen. And it's like, we don't gain anything from that.
Yeah, I would have been fine not even explaining the locust, but sort of getting a lore for why is the queen... One second. Fuck. Can you tell it's our first time? I would have been fine with them not explaining the locust completely if they had just given more lore on the queen and why she is blatantly a human in an outfit. Like,
Yeah.
that is so much more important.
Yeah, the queen and her relationship to Marcus's dad.
Yeah.
Like, that should be more explored and developed. It just doesn't feel like it's in the game. They get to it in later games, and that's unfortunate.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But we'll get there.
Yes.
So for Gears of War 3, I'm a little torn.
Yeah.
Because of course you have to be like, how recommendable is this game? Which one do you point at first? Because that's kind of how I rank these by and large. Like, what was the experience like playing through it? And was I disappointed by it at the time?
Uh-huh.
So like, if that's the case, is it worse than 1? 1's pretty desaturated, like, enjoyability wise. I think there's something fascinating to 1 when it comes to like, the idea of like, this is it. The birthplace of cover shooters.
I think 1 is better.
You think 1 is better than 3?
Yeah, I definitely get behind 1 being better than 3. I feel like the Hammer of Dawn is a neat idea. We see a
Yes.
lot of things for the first time here, and it makes them more exciting.
And I think the villain in 1 is maybe better than in others just because you get a battle.
His design is way cooler than what we get later, which is weird.
Right. It's weird to nail that out of the gate and then slip up.
There's a
over
reason
and
they
over.
put him in Killer Instinct and not no one else.
That's true. That is true that Ram ends up in Killer Instinct and nobody else from the series does. Not anything of. They didn't like slip Marcus Phoenix past me, did they?
I don't think so.
I'm kind of agreeing with you on that then.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as solid as a shooter, but it's much more brief, which I think really works in its favor.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably like 6 hours compared to the 9 hours that we saw in 3.
I mean, yeah, 3 is remarkably longer.
In a 3 just feels bloated, and 1 doesn't. Like, there are a few stretches where it's like, I'm not sure what exactly we're doing here, but it doesn't feel as bad as all of 3.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm so torn on it. I really am. So, but for now,
Okay.
let's put Gears 3 below Gears of War 1.
Okay.
Let's put that in our 3rd place slot. I may come to regret this, but I don't know. Because it really is, it's complicated between, you know, you have a bunch of things in 3 that aren't good feeling, because when you have no place of reference, no point of reference, like 1's interesting. In 3, it has a couple interesting ideas, but it's not quite enough. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. For now.
Okay.
For now. So then we played Kill.Switch.
What a game.
I need to stress this. If I really wanted to cash in, this video would just be titled, "You will not believe this amazing PS2 shooter," and me just...
I'll get one of those too.
Yeah, we'll just put the bows and then Kill.Switch at the top and bottom. No, you can't tell them the game in the thumbnail. You just need a picture of the protagonist or the CG cutscene of his wife and... Kill.Switch is an amazing game. That is a shockingly great PS2 game.
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense.
The worst parts of that game, it clearly has no money.
Absolutely.
It has the weirdest narrative conceits to explain these levels being disconnected weirdo nightmares. And yeah, that's about it. It's like Gears 1, but with an art style that lands a bit more, I feel, because Gears 1 is... Well, then again, the original version of Gears 1 has colors and things, and it's contrasty in a way that looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't feel like the art style is great in it. It really is like Kill.Switch is just really basic. You are a military man shooting. Like, it doesn't feel super unique looking.
No, it's not super unique looking, but it doesn't... How do I put this? For its time, it doesn't look like an incomplete version of a thing.
No.
Whereas Gears 1 almost does, just like Uncharted 1 almost does, where it's just like, you're a PS3 game, you're a 360 game, you should look a little more solid, because early that gen was a little rough.
Yes, it does have a strong Unreal Tournament look to it.
It does.
Which helps it
Yeah.
have its own personality.
But yeah, and that's the thing, like, I think when it comes down to personality, I think the winner is almost Kill.Switch, weirdly enough, because of its narrative being so insane.
Its narrative absolutely is crazy.
Yeah, it's about mind jacking. This is another game where you mind jack off. Like Mind Jack.
Every mission starts with some weird computer voice saying, "Say my name."
Yes, say my name.
Say my name.
It's very strange.
Because it's your, well, I don't know how much we want to get into spoilers on all of these. We did it for the rest, so we'll do it for Kill.Switch too,
Right.
even though no one's played it. It's your wife.
Well,
She's telling you to say your name, say her name, because that's what you're thinking of while you're trapped in the Matrix.
right, and that will somehow break the code and let you take control of your own body again or something?
Yeah, it's like Spirited Away.
Yeah. I was surprised by how well the cover works in this. There are moments I found myself wishing that in Gears of War 3, I could have a control scheme more like this.
Yeah, that feels a little insane to say about a PS2 shooter compared to a 360 late-gen shooter.
Yes, it's not perfect by any means, but it's impressive for the time.
No, but it is like, for a PS2 game, there's no world in which I would see this getting below an 8. Like, that's a great game. I'm shocked. I expected to tolerate it as I got to see, like, I got to learn from going through it.
Right. Like,
And instead, I'm glad I bought a PS2 copy, and then I went and got it on Xbox too. Right? That was really great. We did have that glitch though.
that glitch is horrible. I guess we
That's
should address
probably
that.
just yeah, we should address that because that's how the stream went. We're going through the game. We thought, you know, this game's about you mind jacking into other people to take over their bodies, and there's a narrative element of like, oh, it's having problems. I'm getting disconnected. We're having issues. And the moment he started doing this, I swear that's when it started. Every time we would get shot or a grenade would go off near us, we would just freeze completely in the game. We would like dive roll and then freeze in midair. Oh, okay, so like, gotcha, it's just this random mechanic. That's a stupid idea, why are you doing that? But the rest of this game's great, and it's surprising we could still enjoy it despite this terrible boneheaded decision. And we find out, no, it's just the PS2 we're using and the controller we were using or the extension cable we were using just made it not connect right. Like we should have cleaned the contacts for the vibration functionality because every time it vibrated, it would just lock up.
Yeah,
But not the whole game.
No.
Just us. And I've never seen a game with a glitch that weird.
No, that was the strangest glitch we've ever seen.
Yeah.
We've been playing so many games.
Yeah, no, we've beaten hundreds of games on the channel over on Twitch. Playing it on Xbox, it looks immaculate. It feels really good. It's surprising. I did not expect this game to be this great. I assumed this was one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, the real origin of this genre of music is band, and you hear one element of that sort of sounds like it. It's like, oh, they really invented dubstep, but it's like, yeah, this one part of this one song kind of sounded like that.
This is the whole animal.
This is Gears of War 1. But with a narrative that's neater because the narrative in Gears 1 sucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
The world might be neat, but like the narrative is uninteresting. And it's like fucking Kill.Switch has no money, so you shouldn't be losing on a narrative battle with it, I don't think.
No, not at all.
It is schmaltzy in a sort of like cheesy PS2 way, where, you know, your bad guy says lines over and over that is way over the top.
You have no idea what's really going on, do you? It's time to take you out of the game. Permanently.
Yeah, both your main character and your bad guy have really good PS2 voices.
Yeah, I think people are saying the bad guy is Adam Baldwin.
Yes, I think that's right.
The game ends now.
Yeah, he's always got that extra layer of gruff to his voice that makes it very funny.
He has a very Baldwin quality to his voice. I was shocked by how good that game is. That game's still cheap. This is my time to ruin the prices on used games. Go buy every copy of Kill.Switch on Xbox if possible, because
yeah, that was way better.
it looked so much better and it ran properly. The opening of level 2, if you look backwards, well, technically it's the first level because the one before that's a tutorial.
That's true.
Technically. If you look behind you at the beginning of that level, the whole thing just runs like shit as you look at an open city. It's just like, oh, look, I'm looking at a couple buildings and an archway, and on PS2, it's running like 10 frames a second. Then you go to Xbox and, oh, it's fine. Yeah, that game's really good. It's definitely going to place it over at least one Gears game on this list.
Yeah, I feel like it might go over a few.
And before people get uppity and crotchety about, wait a minute, that's not a Gears game, what's it doing here? It's the lead gameplay designer, Chris Esaki. Literally the fucking same game. And Cliffy B and Epic just gets him to come on over and make Gears for them. It is straight up permitted.
Yes.
We are allowing it.
I also like the short time to kill in Kill.Switch. It makes it feel very different from a Gears. Like, you still have all the same moves and stuff, but you just has a totally different pace to it because you can kill guys quickly.
Absolutely. Like, the time to kill on that's really, really short. It's more like a Call of Duty than a Gears of War.
Absolutely.
And that's really great feeling in a weird way. Like, I like being able to, like, if I know what I'm doing and I'm really on top of it, just mulch my way through a level.
Yes.
I want to just tear that level apart. Meanwhile, over in Gears, I'm just shooting the same guy for like a while, a lot of the time. It got rough to go back to Gears a little bit after playing Kill.Switch, which is weird.
Yes, this shouldn't be the case.
Because it's a PS2 shooter. I didn't expect to go to it and be like, I wish this 360 shooter was better. Like, who would say that? Some sort of weird hipster on the internet.
So I think it's time to rank it.
Well, I know it's better than Gears 3.
I think it's better than Gears 1 too.
I also feel that way. Playing through it, I honestly started to see Gears 1 as a total downgrade from it. Which is weird because I didn't expect that.
No. Like, Gears 1 has more set piece ideas and stuff. Even though it doesn't have many. It's got more.
Yeah. I spent 12 years talking about, like, shooters only started feeling good during the 7th gen.
Right.
And it wasn't even immediate. Like, Gears 2 feels sharper and better than Gears 1 when it comes to aiming and stuff. But here's this PS2 Xbox original shooter, and it just feels really solid. And so it just ends up, I'm now in this weird situation where it's like, Gears of War was kind of a downgrade.
Yeah, it's just nobody played this. Except other game designers, because like Uncharted people reference using Kill.Switch.
Yeah.
Is a reference.
I mean, Epic poached him.
Yeah.
Uncharted, like Amy Hennig and Straley, Bruce Straley, I believe. Both of them were like, yeah, this is absolutely our inspiration. Like, that was what we thought was a great game, and it inspired us. And it's like, yeah. Meanwhile, Namco's like, you're not performing well enough. We're going to shut you down. And it's really weird to think about. Namco could have had, like, they could have been on the forefront.
Yeah, they could have had the huge shooter genre.
They could have had a Time Crisis third-person shooter, and they should do that.
Yeah, they should have done that. They should do it still. They could have had a multiplayer Time Crisis, because a lot of the reason Gears took off is the multiplayer mode.
That's true. No, they shut it down, and then Epic gets them, and now it's Cliffy B and the huge dude co-oping with him to make Gears of War. And I think, you know, you look at it all, Chris Sasaki's bringing it. He is the spirit of Gears of War that people care about.
We've been talking...
Which was weird, because keep in mind, we just brought up our play order, right?
Uh-huh.
We played 1, 2, and 3, and then played Kill.Switch, and we were like, oh, that's unfortunate. He helped out with all the Gears games. Oh, only 1 and 2. Well, that explains 3.
Yep. It really, you can tell he's gone. You can tell he's gone immediately.
Something's missing from the soup,
right?
From 3. Like, we picked up on that immediately while playing it when it didn't have really fun set pieces and there was some other thing missing.
Right.
The innovation.
Yeah, the cool things like the moving cover and all that the 2 had.
Yeah.
There just weren't cool ideas.
Yeah, there weren't cool ideas. And, you know, that's whatever. Weirdly enough, that guy ended up at Microsoft working on the new Forza Motorsport, which is
Yeah, that's so strange.
The in-between period, I think he did, like, a Kinect game or 2.
Oh, no.
It's
Did
so
they put him in
weird.
the box? The Kinect box?
No, he seems fine. It's weird.
Okay.
I don't know. Because he's the lead.
Right.
He's like the head honcho on Motorsport. He's like director.
That's kind of crazy.
It is. It is completely insane. I don't know how your career looks like that, but it does. And that's cool. Lots of variety, I guess. I hope he's happy.
Right. That's what's important.
Because that man has contributed more to gaming than Cliffy B ever has.
Yes. Nobody cares about Jazz Jackrabbit, Cliffy. I'm sorry. So I guess I'll write it down here. Goes Gears 2.
Yeah. Because I'm
Kill.Switch.
In no world is Gears 2 worse than Kill.Switch.
No, Gears 2 is solid.
Gears 2 is really great. Outside of those 2 story moments that are fucking ham-fisted and terrible.
Yes.
Also, Gears 2, in my experience, and I believe yours as well, has the good Horde mode.
Yes, that's the one that's iconic, and everything I heard is they kept screwing it up. I know that back in the day I played the Horde mode in 3, which is disappointing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case if I went to it now, but I feel like it would be.
Yeah, I don't know either, but we're just talking about this from a single-player campaign playthrough. Well, really, co-op campaign.
Yeah, co-op
playthrough.
campaign playthrough, which
because we did it for the whole thing, except for Kill.Switch, obviously.
Right, because that does not have co-op.
Yeah, and that's the upgrade of Gears, but I feel like it's not good enough as an upgrade. I had more fun with Kill.Switch, even handing off the controller
Yeah.
and dealing with that terrible glitch.
That glitch, Jesus.
Yeah, you know you made a good game when I'm getting another platform version of it. Like, we beat Kill.Switch, and within 2 days, I was like, I need the Xbox version. I want to play that now.
Right.
And I played halfway through the game in one sitting. I was like, this rules. Not a terribly long game. If you're already good at it, even shorter.
Yeah.
And you're not dealing with the weirdest glitch of the world, even shorter than that. But still, you know you made a good game when someone does that. When they go, I need to consume this on every platform. I need to know. You know, that's the level of fandom I had for, like, Tony Hawk games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so far the pecking order, can you read that out?
Gears 2, Kill.Switch. Gears 1, Gears 3 at the bottom.
That feels right to me. Somebody's gonna be like, well, Gears 3 has Horde mode and 1 doesn't, so it's objectively better. But it's like, well, we're not really worried about that.
That's not what that's about.
Besides, in order to rank those properly, we'd have to play like, I don't know, 40 hours of Horde mode, so that way I could feel like I've experienced it.
Right, yeah, that's the thing with multiplayer stuff. You really do need to play a ton of it.
So we rolled from Kill.Switch into Gears of War Judgment. And this was the original plan. Now, we didn't know we would roll from Gears of War Judgment right after that into Gears of War 4.
God, we did do that. We're crazy.
That was great, honestly. As I said, I really hit a stride on stream when I'm 6 hours in. Wait till the day I convince you we should do the same for these videos, where I'm just like, we need to record for 10 hours. I'll really get good at the commentary 6 hours in.
I think the real problem there would be the recording medium we use.
No, it's fine. We'll just get 16 terabyte SSDs on USB Type-C. They make those, right?
Yeah, Dan.
Cool. Gears of War Judgment. This is the God of War Ascension of the Gears franchise.
Absolutely, in every single way.
Somebody went to some people, they said, hey, this gen isn't over yet, buckaroo. Fill this slot. Much like the Gears games are about filling holes, this was about filling a hole in a lineup. Gears of War Judgment here, made by People Can Fly, has to round out the end of the generation. Really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because when you look back at the PS2 gen, the equivalent is Ratchet Deadlocked, Jack X Combat Racing, and, well, I guess the third slide was late enough where it just came in at that point.
Halo 2, I guess, because that was supposed to be on 360.
I mean, yes, but it's not the case of real quick, make another.
True.
Whereas that is literally what God of War Ascension and Gears Judgment are. They are literally, hey, the gen's still going and it wasn't supposed to.
We didn't account for this.
Make another. It really sucks.
Yeah.
It really sucks that that's the way this has to be approached. It really sucks that they can't go forward in the timeline.
No.
They have to do the prequel.
They like have their hands tied. It seems like they aren't allowed to do anything interesting.
Right. They're banished out of the interesting zone in order to go like focus on Baird and Coltrane earlier. And it's like, oh, it's them much younger. And I'm like, Coltrane doesn't even look like Coltrane. We saw a statue of Coltrane. We know how he should look as an athlete. Why does he not look like that?
Yeah, it feels like it goes all the way back to the beginning of the Locust War. And I feel like they should have just done it somewhere else in the middle of it, because that war is apparently like 15 years or something.
I don't know. And I honestly am just trying to not hold on to it because there's enough to be frustrated about in the Gears of War story overall that I don't need to hold on to. How long ago was the beginning of the Locust War relative to now? Why do these people not look? Yeah, I'm trying to not hold on to it. But yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, the longer the timeline goes, the more convoluted it gets and weird.
More frustrating it is because people who have to write stuff in, it's kind of like the Star Wars timeline where they have to be like, well, the Obi-Wan show's about him going on a quick adventure, then going right back to the desert.
Yes. Yeah, they do have a whole bunch of... We have these holes to fill. They are also like Gears.
In a weird way, though, the Gears Judgment doesn't quite feel like that story-wise. It feels more like... And it actually doesn't feel like the Star Wars prequels either.
No.
Where it's like, everybody go to the spots they saw you frame one on fucking A New Hope. like I honestly, every time... Because everyone apparently hated this game when it came out. They were just like, fuck Baird.
Right.
Fuck Baird, I don't want to play as Baird. I spent the whole month up until now being confused. I'm like, Baird's not that bad, guys. And then you play Gears 3 and it's like, okay, Baird's quipping a bit much. Maybe he should be less funny.
Yes. Funny is in, yes, massive quotes there.
Yeah. Then I go, like, we get to Judgment. I start to go, like, I don't hate Baird, and I don't hate Baird in this. He's not even the quippy, annoying Baird from 3.
No.
I hate that Coltrane isn't acting like himself. I hate that Baird's only approximately acting like himself.
Every character had their soul vacuumed out a bit.
Yeah.
They just become off as these weird shells of characters that could have been anyone. And maybe they got at last second, we're like, well, let's make that about Cole and Baird. It's like,
I mean, we did entertain because there's a lot about this game that points towards it. Maybe it was a different game and it got reskinned to be a Gears game. But Paduk is like Russian coded.
yes.
He's not Russian. Russia doesn't exist on this planet, but it's Russia.
right.
He has the most personality, but he's just Russian coded. He's just that guy you've seen in all those movies.
Right.
So then we have to talk about, since I started plot first so we could get this out of the way, we have to talk about Sophia, a Gears of War female. They don't have many of those.
No.
So after weird things, oh man, we forgot to talk about the ending of the Gears 3. We forgot to talk about how Gears 3 literally out of nowhere, in a complete betrayal of the whole franchise, has, once everything's over, Marcus is sad and they have a case of the not gays with Anya. And I'm like, I felt like this wasn't here.
No, it was really not earned.
Who asked for this? Who greenlit this? So anyway, putting that aside,
Yeah.
everybody needs to have an established story that isn't already established. Coltrane has a story already. Barrett has a story already, relatively. They need to establish new stories. So Paduk, Russian guy you've seen in everything. Sophia, woman. Well, she went to university. We're gonna go see the professor at this university. She knows of a professor. We're gonna go see if, like, maybe he can help. She goes inside, and the professor's dead and whatever.
Right.
But there's this moment of, I fucked the professor. And I'm like, Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. You as a writer there was a woman in a university and I guess she fucked a teacher. Like that was the only thing you could think to write there.
And that if there was anything else happening with the story, I could be okay with it, but there's nothing. That's their entire character.
If that was, I feel like there's some way you could have done Sophia having that relationship that wouldn't have been nearly as, this is the only thing we could think of to write for a woman. Because it's almost out of the gate.
Yeah.
It comes in fast. And I think that's really unfortunate. And it's even more unfortunate after you finish the side campaign in Judgment. Which I'm going to deliver on now so that way we can keep this connected. The ending of the side campaign in Judgment where Baird goes and Coltrane goes and they meet up with Paduk and they're like, what happened to Sophia? And they're like, you'll have to beat the campaign before I tell you. She was captured and who knows?
Yeah.
And then she never comes back again in the franchise. I'm like, can we have one woman on screen?
No.
Can we just keep it? No?
No, they're
Okay.
too dangerous.
Okay. Sure. All right. Let's talk about the gameplay of Judgment. Gameplay of Judgment's interesting. It's very different from any other Gears game.
It is very different.
Gears of War Judgment is like a bunch of really short set pieces where it's like, I'm gonna grade you now. I'm gonna grade you now. I'm gonna grade you now. And it's like every 10 minutes you're getting like out of 3 stars. Hell, it's not even 10 minutes every time. It's more like 5.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll shove you in a horde map, literally.
Yeah.
And you do horde for 2 waves.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of horde map. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, sure. It's weird. It's one of the weirdest campaigns, I feel.
Yeah, and I feel like the scoring system really doesn't make sense for Gears.
No.
They have a bunch of bonuses for like doing chainsaw kills and stuff and all these things where it's like, you made a tactical shooter. If I'm running out there to get these kills, it's not efficient, it's not effective, and
Right.
it shouldn't be encouraged.
But now it's like, oh, well, if you don't get enough stars, you're not going to get to play the side campaign with Coltrane and Baird. And I was stressed out the whole time.
Yeah.
And it turned out it was easy.
Right.
We made well over the amount of stars you needed to do that. It's absolutely terrible. Like, it doesn't fit that game, and it's such a weird element for me to keep track of mentally when I should just be trying to enjoy the game.
Right, yeah. There shouldn't be...
I like ranking systems a lot. But that's just weird.
It feels kind of like a PSP game where they kept having to separate out the content really small chunks.
Yes.
In-
No, I know what you're talking about because like the PSP doesn't have a lot of memory and they couldn't spin the disc the whole time or it would ruin your battery life.
Right.
So it would load the sandbox and then you would beat that finally and then it would need to load the next sandbox. And that's the thing. It doesn't do the huge seamless thing like Gears 3 does. It does that. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah, it's very strange and not really a great director for a series, but they did change a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Actual control scheme and feel wise.
Yeah, I feel like Control Scheme's the best it was in the franchise even today.
Yeah, crazily enough.
Yeah.
They take a lot of stuff from Call of Duty of like, you have a quick weapon switch where you just hit one button and immediately pull out the other gun.
Yeah.
It's like twice as fast as any other Gears at least.
Because yeah, the D-pad makes sense when you have like multiple different weapons of like 4 weapons. But really you just have 2 weapons you care about and a pistol.
Yeah. And the
The
pistol,
grenades-
some are neat, but
The grenade doesn't need to be its own thing.
No.
So whatever, just lose the pistol, give me full customizability on 2 weapons and it's fine.
yeah, and then in this, they give you the grenade button, which is like
LB.
left bumper.
Yeah.
And you just hold it and you get the line, or you can tap and he just throws it. And it's like, this is way better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude,
They're so slavishly stuck to that old scheme.
Because, and we'll get to it, but the Coalition is a institution founded on the idea of making more Gears. Not really founded, but converted into, because they were not even called Coalition to begin with. I think aside from the scoring weirdness and how it ties into the side campaign thing, it's neat. They give you these extra challenges you can take on to make the game harder, but get more points. I think that's neat too. It's just, the story itself is so bad because it's doing the in media res thing where it's just like, oh, we're starting at this point in the timeline and then we're flashing back constantly.
Yeah, so you don't have any tension of like, will these new characters survive or anything. You see everything at the end of the point.
Well, not only that, it's just like, because even what you go and do isn't interesting.
Yes, they fully tell you what it will be in the future before you go and do it.
100%.
It's like, oh, they stole military hardware.
Oh my God.
Oh my
Wonder
God.
what we'll do in this game. Oh, we did that. Hours later. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's super unexciting.
Yeah, but I like the modernization of the control scheme. I kind of find a lot of the things about it mechanically neat, but the story is just not firing at all for me. So I don't know. I liked Gears Judgment. I did.
Yeah.
I might like it more than 1. Bob, do you like Gears of War 1 more than Gears Judgment?
This is hard, actually.
How about this? I'll make it easy. We're going to include the side campaign.
Okay.
Because that is a part of Gears of War Judgment, even
Right.
though that's clearly Gears of War 3 content, because of the art style, the seamlessness, the control scheme, and everything else changes to clearly be Gears 3.
I don't think they changed the control scheme, actually. I think it sticks to the Judgment stuff.
I'm pretty sure they changed the control scheme, but we can cut to that footage.
Yeah, I think it's better than 1. Maybe?
I like it more than 1. I'd revisit it sooner than 1.
Yeah. I can get behind it being better than 1.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, well, it's definitely above 3 in my head. I had a lot more fun with it than I did 3.
Same. Yeah, that's no contest.
Yeah. So where we sit thinking it goes above 1.
Then it would be from the bottom up, Gears 3, Gears 1, Gears of War Judgment, Kill.Switch, Gears 2. Yeah.
Okay. I'll get that
Absolutely.
in there.
Now, I know what you're thinking watching this video. Oh, this has been easy so far. Yeah, it has. Because here's the thing about Gears from here on out. Gears from here on out tries to come up with really new ways to fuck up.
They sure do.
Yeah, they really innovate. Gears of War is the story of Mortal Kombat 10. Remember Mortal Kombat 10? You're the combat kids, but now you're the Gears kids. To some extent, I started to go, well, it's only one of them. And then they're like, actually, the twist is, and I'm like, I hate you. Why are you like this? But yeah, technically, this is the combat kid situation, but for Gears. Gears of War 4 is the story of Marcus's kid and his friend Kate and their friend other guy, Dell? Dell.
Yeah.
And then Oscar. Remember Oscar?
I don't.
He's the bearded guy. He's the
Oh,
lush.
yeah. He leaves after 1 mission or something.
Yeah, he was there for the whole beginning. He was like, I like this guy. And he's like, okay, goodbye now. I'm out of the plot now, bye. And the game's like, don't worry, he'll be back next time. And we'll follow up on that later. So in Gears 4, the Coalition, the COGS, they hate you.
Yes.
They're like, you've been clearly kidnapping entire villages of people. How would a ragtag team do that?
Yeah.
Why aren't you having a real conversation with us? And this is the whole game. No one will talk to solve any problems. We'll just cut them off for one reason or another.
Yeah, it's the most frustrating thing you can do in a story.
So you escape from the new Fab City, which, man,
yeah.
that is a whole element of this where it's like, Coalition, what are you doing? They have Star Trek fabricators.
Yeah, they just can
Materialize whatever they
materialize it out of
need.
nothing. And then you also fight these robots. They don't look cool.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. You fight these robots, and both you and I are like, this doesn't feel great to fight in a Gears game. And you were like, yeah, they don't explode and feel cool when they die, like
locusts.
locusts.
The worst part is they make them take like 2 to 3 times as many hits as the locust did, because they're around metal machines, and it's like, that's not fun though.
Yeah, no. It's a real drag the beginning of this game. So then you get out of that. You go to your village, and oh no, they came for you now in your village.
You know, you're right, Kegu. Oh wait, no, the locusts are back.
The locusts are back.
Oh my god.
And they're gonna kill your mom because we hit the make the player feel button.
Yes,
And it killed a mom.
they did.
She should have known better than being a woman in Gears.
How dare she?
Batting average for characters we kill to make the player feel is pretty bad for women here, actually.
It's like a buck full of children and your mom.
Then you need to figure out what happened, etc., etc. Turns out they didn't kill your mom, they took her away, so you need to find her. And then you team up with Marcus Phoenix. Is that fun? Is that what you wanted to do in Gears 4? Play as Marcus's son, team up with Marcus Phoenix for 10 minutes, and then he gets kidnapped too? You spend an hour of the game, maybe 2 hours going after him. You get to him, he comes out of the cocoon, and he just goes, don't worry, I saw it all, Krillin.
Yes, he's hit on the script somewhere inside that goo vat he was stuck in.
1 second. Okay, I'm up to speed.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. It's truly rough. This was the first Gears game, because Gears 3 was the first game that made me go, uh-oh.
Right.
This might have been a mistake for a month. A thing I've never said before.
Yeah.
Gears 4 is the one where I went, okay, this was a mistake. I've heard a lot of people online, a lot of cringe-ass motherfuckers being like, Gears got woke. That was the problem. I'm like, they could mean anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a gay person. I played as a woman. They could mean anything. So I'm expecting them to say some stuff that's like really, really cringe, right, in the Gears games, and that's what's upset those guys.
Right.
And that'll be fine, but the story won't be terrible in the same way. And it's like, no, it's terrible in a new way because everyone's quipping, and we're still hitting the make the player feel button.
Yeah, it's so weird that JD, their new Marcus Phoenix replacement son,
Yeah.
is the closest. They try to make him Nathan Drake. It just is bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, a character like that just doesn't fit in this.
No.
And to try and make it fit, his two sidekicks, Dell and Kate, are also doing their own quips constantly.
Yeah, Gears 4 is weird. Not even Gears 5 is like this. Dude, Gears 4 is just nonstop clipping.
Yeah, they're all like joking, goofing around, and it's like, we're after your mom who's kidnapped. What's happening? Well, what about rock, paper, scissors? I can write some jokes for that.
I can write that joke that comes in the How to Write Jokes textbook.
Whoa.
It's the paper, rock, scissors joke. You ever laugh at that one? Has anyone ever laughed at that one? But you know what Gears 4 got that Gears 3 didn't?
What's that?
Technical showpieces and set pieces.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they suck. They're not fun.
No.
The weather thing looks cool because there are these weather outbreaks because global warming. Like they're like the weird energy juice we use on Gears planet causes all these things, but the government's always blaming all these other things for it. They were blaming the locusts until we killed them. And I was like, okay, global warming, sure, whatever. Like fucking. But you play through those and it's like, man, this feels like when they showed it off at E3 and it was like the most unimpressive thing.
Yeah, it's just we set the physics to go crazy. Things fly away like paper, like all the giant rocks just floating around.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, like Portal 2 did the whole physical destruction pre-scripted thing a lot more impressively, which is weird because it's Portal 2.
Right.
Gears 4 just has a number of like these localized weather storms and those moments, and then the mechs.
Which is the very end.
Right, the mech is supposed to be this power trip moment. Not enjoyable.
No.
Something about it just became rote.
Yeah, I think the only actual spectacle thing that I think was cool is they go to the bottom of some mine shaft to save Marcus. And to get out, they have to break some elevator cords, and it flings them all the way out of this canyon as the canyon's falling apart. And it actually looks nice.
Yeah.
I think that was cool. That was it.
I'm glad you appreciated that. I was so, I don't like to think of myself as a hater, but at that point, I was just like, this isn't doing anything for me. So I'm glad you appreciated it at least. At least someone appreciated any of the set pieces they did at any point.
Yeah, it helps because it's after...
It's after we get Marcus.
It's after we get Marcus. It's after some bad set pieces. Like motorcycle set piece is awful. It's like a version of the Gears 2 set piece where you're on the flying vehicles, but worse in every way. We already talked about how that was the weakest part of the Gears 2.
I think it's a neater idea in Gears 4, the idea of driving the motorcycle around and battling an airship. I think the way it's actually executed, it doesn't really land, but I like the idea of that. There's something really neat about Marcus Phoenix tearing ass through a forest at night as it rains.
Oh, absolutely. That should be cool.
That's metal as hell. But somehow it's just like, okay, now take down an airship with this pistol. And it's like, I don't know. Could you have thought of like a cooler enemy type? Like have drones attack me. I don't know.
That was again part of fighting those robots. The robots are lame.
Yeah.
They should not have even been considered.
No. You know, that's actually what I say every time I think about Gears 4. Like I wake up at night and I'm like, no. No.
Get me out.
Which I would like to know. We're only calling it Gears blank up to this point because it saves us time.
Yes.
This is a long video. We don't want to be saying Gears of War every time.
No.
But they actually rebrand it with the next one.
They do.
I'm glad I waited this long to say it because you know someone already typed the comment and hit send.
Of course.
They're just like, it's not Gears 3, it's Gears of War 3. Used to have soul. But yeah, Gears 4, terrible cast, I hated them. I hated Dell,
Yeah.
which in the next game I grow to not hate Dell.
They're all very hateable in 4.
They're terrible characters. I absolutely loathe all of them.
It feels like we just have Big Bang Theory writers come in to fill out this awful cast.
To me, it feels like it's just concentrated Whedonisms. Like, it doesn't quite feel like Big Bang Theory, because the way the comedy works in that is, of course, different.
Yeah.
It is cringe in the same way, though. I'll give you that. Yeah, Gears 4, it's really tragic. Like, I didn't know. I didn't play Gears. Like, I played Gears 1 back in the day, and I played a bit of, like, I played Gears 2 Horde mode.
Yeah.
And I didn't play the campaigns of any of these, and I didn't play Gears 4. No one let me know that this game sucked.
Yeah, I kept putting it off and being like, oh, I'll get there. I'll get to it when I get to it. Because I didn't beat 3. I felt like I needed to beat 3 leading up to it.
Right. And Judgment, right?
No.
Oh, right. Most fungible game ever made by humans.
Probably, yes.
But yeah, it's bad.
Absolutely.
Because there are only 2 types of scenes in Gears 4. The writing is only 2 things. A million quips or deep, meaningful, symbolic storytelling, like the Cocoon. When the butterfly comes out. It's like the cocoons that they keep people in, but more especially, it's like our main character Kate, who's going to transform through the situation she's been put in, and also is a locust queen,
Yeah.
descendant. So we go to the mother tree at the end of the game, and we stab the hell out of our mother. And Bob, upon us doing this, goes, "Why would they leave her corpse in there? That seems insane." And I too went, "Yeah, that seems really weird." And Bob goes, "You think they would have a burial or any sort of ceremony and not leave it in enemy hands? That seems completely irrational, given any circumstance, let alone the circumstance where the reason they kidnapped their mom is because they were going to integrate her into the Locust."
And it's made worse because the way that they kill her mom is she has to cut her out. Like, she's literally cutting her out of Locust goo.
Yeah.
And tentacles and stuff. So why would you even cut her out if you're just going to leave her there? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, we can't just blow her brains out. Oh. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible, horrible. That didn't make sense in the moment. And then they do the reveal of, like, my grandmother, my mother gave me this pendant from my grandmother. And it's like, oh, it's the locust symbol. Ah! Gears 4 is terrible. Put it at the bottom of that list.
Like, we've been doing nothing but complaining about this game. It is awful.
I don't find any idea it has wholly enjoyable. Not one.
We don't need to move anything else. Like, it's just right at the bottom.
You just get to write it at the bottom, lucky you.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yes.
No joke though. I thought the highlight conceptually, up here, not in the game, but up here, the motorcycle scene. It was bad gameplay. It certainly was, but it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I wish this game could have really nailed this. Kind of reminded me of Days Gone.
Oh my God, Days Gone's better though. It's the best.
Oh, Days Gone's way better. That sucks.
But that should never be the case.
That's a sentence I never want to hear me say. Days Gone is way better.
Yeah, Deacon's more interesting than JD.
Yeah, of course. Don't worry, they try to flesh out JD in Gears 5.
They sure do.
Gears 5, baby. Gears 5 is the story of Marcus Phoenix's son being a fascist. He's conflicted over this. It's unclear. His friend isn't, though. His friend's really into shooting civilians.
Yes, he loves it actually. Brags about it.
Kate can't figure out why being sealed in a cocoon would give her psychic powers over locusts until a scientist tells her that she is the granddaughter of the Locust Queen, a thing that seems obvious when your grandmother gives you a pendant with the Locust logo on it and you have psychic control of the locusts. This time, a woman was spared, but Oscar wasn't. Hey, remember at the end of Gears 4 when they're like, don't worry, he'll be back!
Yeah.
And then he comes back to die.
Yeah, he comes
It's
back
like one scene.
literally just to be the same pawn they always use in these games of feel sad.
I haven't looked it up. Yeah, they hit the button.
Yeah, they hit the button.
They hit the button. And I was like, God, of course, that's Gears War game. They hit the button. I'm supposed to feel. I'm really glad that button's still at the studio. Microsoft legally got to keep that button with the franchise. They're like, oh, thank God, we could write it. The thing that, somebody told me, and I didn't check this, so this could be completely wrong. That's not even the same voice actor for Oscar.
What?
So they didn't even get the guy back to do the one scene he's in.
That's so bad because the only teasers they leave you at the end of 4 is
Yes.
him coming back.
And I was actually kind of okay with that. I was like, oh, I like Oscar. He's the least annoying person in the entire cast, other than Marcus, who is still two-dimensional. They try to flesh him out by being like, oh, he grows tomatoes now in Gears 4.
They do. They have one line about that.
And the storm destroys his tomatoes, and it's funny. But yeah, so when we get to Gears 5, they murder Oscar. They murder him so fast. It's
Heck,
like,
we don't even get all the way there. We saw it in the E3 trailer.
That's true. I forgot.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
Maybe they don't show who it is, and it's left as a mystery.
Yeah, I think that's what they did.
Yeah, and it's just
But if you played 4, you probably could have sussed out from who's shown elsewhere in the trailer who it was. Mm-hmm. There's a lot like the Joel moment in the trailer for The Last of Us Part 2. I'm like, wait a minute. We called that in advance. I bet we would have caught this one too.
Yeah, if we'd been playing them.
At least this trailer didn't lie.
No.
It just went, yeah, someone dies. Can you guess who? And I go, yeah.
Kate carries, and I see the other 2 alive.
You play the beginning of this game, we introduce a new guy, Foz, or whatever. Foz sits there, he's a guy who's a bit of a parody of, a soldier type. Mm-hmm. He's a bit of a parody of the guy who's like, oh, I'm out there to kill those foreigners, I don't care. Like, he's hardened by war and does not give a shit about people, by and large. So he opens fire on civilians directly under order from JD back before the events of 4, seemingly, but unsure.
Yeah, the timeline's insane.
This franchise sucks. What do you think about the timeline? But I'm not going to worry about it. We're going to keep going. So JD gave him the order, and this makes Dell and Kate be like, JD? You said it was okay to shoot a civilian? And JD's like, they were throwing fire bombs. I was stressed. Come on. And the moment this set piece happens, JD's like, okay, my friends hate me. It's time to sacrifice myself to save someone. So they've been doing this bit through the entire Gears franchise, where they're like, Carmines. Carmines are in every game. Mm-hmm. We should cherish that, because Gears 3 had a thing. Will he survive? Won't we? Won't he? It's the longest he's ever survived in a Gears game, but then we lost sight of him and we got worried. And then the ending happens and it was like, Carmine survived!
And everyone cheers.
Yeah, Gears 1, Gears 2, Carmine dead. Gears 3, Carmine, not Carmines. Gears 4, they just apparently kill him off screen abruptly.
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, people in chat were like, Carmine just died, and I'm like, what? What happened? Huh? What? Really? You sure?
I think they killed him in Radio Shatter, which is insane.
Yeah, no, that's literally the only time it could have been based on when they told us.
Right.
And I'm like, did they seriously do that? Then you get to Gears 5, and they're like, here's a new Carmine. It's a lady. And I'm like, uh-oh. Look
Red
out.
flags.
You don't want to be a lady on this part of this side of town. Slow down. So anyways, JD accidentally, he's like, okay, I can't get the satellite to use the Hammer of Dawn properly. I'm going to have it tracked to my suit, and then I'm going to run out there. And oh no, the Hammer of Dawn's chasing me. Then someone's locked in a vehicle. It's the Carmine lady. I forget her name. Was it an E?
Yeah, it was Elizabeth.
Yes, because it was Elizabeth, and they shortened it to Lizzie or something.
Right.
And she's trapped in the truck, and the truck won't open. Lizzie can't get out, and then he's like, the Hammer of Dawn hits the vehicle and JD. And so the next time we see him, he has like almost a fucking bishop arm where it's just fishnet cybernet network to replace his skin. Mm-hmm. I'm like, we can manufacture a city like it's nothing, to the point where it's not a problem. Nobody even lives in them yet because they're just like that easy to make, I guess.
Yes.
They're ready in advance, but we can't make artificial skin well in the future. We need the cyber skin. And JD shaves his head and gets a scar all from this one event. Because they jumped 4 months for this to happen.
Yeah, this is when he becomes the fascist.
This is when he goes all in on being red-pilled.
Yeah, it's very weird.
It is super bizarre. We go from that, and we're now focusing on Kate. It's now Kate's story. And Kate is going to introduce us to 2 of the worst open worlds in a fucking video game ever.
Yeah.
2 micro open worlds with the least compelling content in any game I've ever played. They have these little side missions that are like, go play a bad Gears of War segment. Because that's what it is. They all feel like really bad Gears of War segment ideas.
Yeah, we were talking about how they were like patrols in Destiny, but worse.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
That is incredible because patrols in Destiny are not high tier content.
No, they're the lowest grade content possible.
And yet, somehow, this worse. So, it's to the point where it's an open world and it's like, oh, you need to go to this area. And I'm like, okay, and I pull a vehicle past it, I try to go up, and then it's like, not that way. Other way. So I go back across the bridge and then I drive up to the correct side and they're like, oh no, locusts, we're being attacked, save us. I'm like, where the fuck was this shit when I tried to enter from the other side? And then you do your shooting gallery and the guy's like, thanks.
Despawns.
Right?
Doesn't actually, but yeah, same.
But
same
it
deal.
emotionally feels like that because it's just you don't stick Gears of War segments with no heavy weight to the content. Also have them like beacon this, beacon that.
Yeah, this whole game, we're trying to reactivate the Hammer of Dawn.
God.
A weapon that is proven in every game leading up to this, not good enough to actually solve a problem.
Right, it's not a nuke.
No, it can kill a few things. It is not our be-all, end-all. It never is.
Yeah, it never is.
We always need a bigger gun. We always need something. Instead, we're freaking activating these things for hours.
Yeah. Most of the story is about getting the Hammer of Dawn back online. And then it only stays online for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
It is infuriating, honestly.
Oh, in those open worlds, the other thing is they're not visually interesting at all. Like the first one's a giant open wasteland of ice.
Yeah, an
Nothing
Arctic
in it.
wasteland, yeah.
Nothing. Like there's no landmarks. It's just, there's some hills.
You gotta go through the squeeze through to get to the level.
Yeah. And it's
And then
like,
the open area is like really unremarkable in every way possible. And then the other one's the desert.
you don't even fight in the open world area. It's literally just this giant hub that has nothing in it. It's insane. And then the second one is the same thing.
It's fucking weird because it's like, you know, Cameo was trying to be a Zelda-like, where it has the open Hyrule field type thing. But even that feels kind of more realized because there are things in the open world at all.
Yeah.
Like any things. Whereas here, it's like nothing.
The very end of the second open world, the desert, you do a chase scene. But it feels like even that, you're really just going one place to the other. You're not actually chasing something. There's no time limit. There's no like visual that you're after.
No, but the desert, while we were driving on the stuff, did have the localized storms.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was like the only variety in that whole area.
Yeah, it's really tragic how bad this is.
Yeah, and this is the majority of the game. I'd say it's probably an hour and a half maybe until you get to those. Like building up to playing as Cade and playing as JD.
And during that part, I don't know about you, but I actually felt like it was an improvement over Gears 4 because the writing's no longer hyper quippy
No.
and other things have been sane. Then we get the JD fascist twist, and that's awful. And that only happens about 15 minutes before they crack you into the open world because you have to do the city stuff and you have to go your separate ways and then you go to the open world. Once you hit that open world, it's like 70% of the content in the game. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It feels better to play. They fixed the time to kill so it feels more like a regular Gears game and not like 4 where everything took way too many bullets.
Yeah.
There's still some of the bad enemy types they introduced in 4, but it doesn't feel as bad to fight them.
Right, because you're not doing it nonstop.
Yeah.
4, you're doing, like, here's this locust type, it sucks to fight. Nonstop.
Yeah.
You know, when you're not doing the robots that take forever to kill. But yeah, Gears 5, I thought it was going to be better. And then 70% of the game is the worst open world in a video game anytime remotely recently. It's literally like, what do I compare it to? Prototype 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it pretty well compares to that.
Right.
But it's
and
not,
I think
not as
Prototype
fun.
comes out on top.
Yeah, because you don't have cool, fun powers to explore this world. You have a bow.
Yeah.
Or a glider
A
thing.
skiff.
A skiff.
Yeah, you're skiffing around.
You don't even have a gun on this thing. It's just kind of boring.
No, yeah, one person gets to do everything and the other person gets to sit. And if they want, bring up a map on their screen.
Yeah.
I swear this game was not meant to be a co-op experience because you would not, like at the beginning of development, it was not intended to be a co-op experience because it's supposed to be Kate's journey for a lot of it, conceptually. Yeah. And why in the world would you ever design? Maybe they couldn't get enemies working in the open world.
Maybe.
That would explain it. Because that thing you're in clearly looks like it should be a turret or gun.
Yeah, you have a big thing you're moving around. I thought, oh, well, we're going to upgrade this, and I'm going to get a gun, and it'll be fine. Never got a gun.
It's either that or they thought, well, it's got to be that. It's got to be they could not get enemies working. Because it's either they could not get enemies working, or they thought, well, you driving around while the AI shoots everyone isn't fun. Because, you know, some people will play it single player.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the opening of this game when you're going back to the old island from 3 and it's like kind of neat?
Yeah.
It's like visually neat.
Yeah, they have some ideas. Sometimes it seems ridiculous that it's actually the old island, old places from 1 and stuff.
Yeah.
Because the environments in these games have changed so much.
Yeah, because you do that twice in that game. First time, the very beginning of the game, you go to the island from 3, where the sky laser happened.
Yes.
Technically, 2 sky lasers happened. One of them created the storm to surround the island so no one could get to it. And the second one ended the locusts in 3. Important to keep track of how many sky lasers are in your video games. Anyways, you go back to that island, it looks neat. You go to the other facility to learn about the history of Kate and the locusts,
Yes.
and everything else.
And they finally fess up to everything that they were building up to in the old games of, oh, we accidentally created the locusts, oh no.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, if Gears ended, I would have just assumed that was probably what the case was.
Right.
Just because they were doing experiments on children, and that seemed like a non sequitur almost in that game, and I'm like, okay. But once again, timeline-wise, that seems a little weird, but we're not gonna worry about it. But the open world is terrible, and they can't spawn enemies out there, and there's nothing to do, and it's huge distances.
It just
and
becomes,
it's like, could you imagine if Spider-Man was like that? Spider-Man on PS4?
Yeah. No.
Could you imagine if God of War was like that? There was literally nothing anywhere.
Didn't Resistance 1 have open areas like this for a few missions, and they were
I think
better?
it just had huge-ass levels.
Yeah, I feel like there was a few ones where you were on a Jeep and you drove way too much. And
I mean,
it
there's
kind of reminds me
definitely
of that.
tank move slowly, shoot thing down hall.
Yes.
Which in this case, hall is actually street, but I call anything that's a narrow, long thing in a video game a hall. This open world is so bad. It's literally as bad as every cynic about modern games makes every open world sound. Because
Right.
let's be real, Far Cry 6 clowns on this.
Yeah, of course.
There are things in that open world. There are things you collect and do. The only things in this are the jack powers, which we haven't brought up until now.
The jack powers suck.
So there are jack powers in this game. Jack powers like control the locusts, a thing you think Kate could do.
You think. They'll lobotomize Kate halfway through the game, so she can't.
That is true. They literally said it was brain damage.
Yeah.
They're like, get in that machine, it's gonna give you brain damage. And she's like, okay, here I go.
What a stupid game.
Yeah, no. Look, at least Dell's less quippy. I liked Dell in this game.
Yeah, Dell was a lot more acceptable. I think it was pretty obvious that originally, Dell would have Jack powers, Kate would have Kate powers.
Right.
Like, he gets an armband that lets him control Jack.
Yeah.
And then you have several very obviously, this doesn't make any sense for a robot to do, like controlling a locust.
Yeah, where Baird's just like, I figured out how to get Jack to shock him so hard that he can control locusts. And I'm like, okay, I thought this shit only worked on the robots because working on locusts is insane. Yeah, there are 2 powers that are like that. There are 2 powers that are like Jack powers. And I guess they went, well, you know, if they have different powers, then the player might be upset if they're not playing the right one. It's like, you let them choose which one they get to play as on the way in. And they're like, well, what if they both want Jack powers?
That ain't happening, man. I'm sorry.
Right. Maybe they thought players wouldn't buy it if Kate shot out a spine or something to hit them to do the mind control. I don't know. Actually, at the end of the day, all you do is roll the cursor over them and hit Y.
Yeah, right? Like, and all it would require is her doing like a Magneto or...
She says gravity squeeze.
Yeah, she does the gravity squeeze and then they go.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. She gets in her giant robot minestrone, puts on the minestrone hat.
Yes.
That lets her see through space like, you know, Magneto.
Yeah, he does that.
To do his mind control.
It's Professor Xavier.
I feel like I would have a far more interesting conversation to have with you, and to give you. If Gears 5 wasn't 70% the worst open worlds I've played in a video game anytime recently.
Yeah, it's so frustrating that like clouds out everything else going on in that game.
Yeah.
It's just so much bad open world.
And the thing is, like, a lot of people don't read up on things like this, but Microsoft literally would not greenlight a 4th Fable. They kept telling Lionhead, no, you did it. That's as good as you can do. You have to make something else. You can't make a normal Fable. Which is why they then made 2 Fable spin-offs, because those were the easiest things to get greenlit.
psychotic.
Right. So, of course, when they went to make a Gears 5, there is no doubt in my mind that somebody somewhere at Microsoft went, well, you did some Gears games. You did the best Gears game you could. You need to innovate in a major way. And they're like, how about the world's worst open worlds? And some execs are like, great. You know what's also awful?
What's that?
So the Hammer of Dawn works for 10 minutes.
Yes.
And this sounds like hyperbole, but it might be shorter than that.
It might be.
It might be 5 minutes. And it doesn't do a whole lot during that. It's not gonna end the fucking war.
No, it maybe stopped this one raid slightly.
And in Gears 4, Gears 5, we established super locusts that are like Leviathan monsters with tentacles and shit. Crazy. Huger than anything before.
Yeah, actually I had a cool boss fight. It was a Tremors it was a Graboid from Tremors. And
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty fun.
It was a Tremors from Tremors.
Tremors from Tremors.
You know the movie Tremors?
I love that movie.
It was a Kevin Bacon from Tremors. Yeah, they have that. And it was like, oh, this is actually like a design battle on a Gears of War game. This is fucking weird. And the Sky Laser couldn't do shit to that. There's no way.
I wish that Baird had just directly quoted Tremors. That would
Yeah.
be great. That
That
made
would've
my
been
day.
good. That would have been pretty good.
Because sometimes if you're gonna steal a design, you just gotta put a hat on it.
Yeah. You activate the Hammer of Dawn. It works for all of 5 or 10 minutes. And then you do a fight through the city. And this is where we know every Gears of War game, every single one of them up until 9. 5 acts. 5. So in Act 4, you go back, the Hammer of Dawn works for 5 to 10 minutes, you fight through the city, and then the game ends. Abruptly.
Yeah, really abruptly.
Really abruptly. Most abrupt I've seen since possibly how you describe Rage.
Yeah, it feels like Halo 2-esque of, well, it also cuts off midway and it's like, okay, now we need to do this. Like, it's a super cliffhanger.
But they needed you to feel. So what happens is, a hole opens up in the city because of the giant monster, and out comes Locust Queen, the new one, who's your mom. Because when you were finding out about the lore of Kate and stuff,
Yeah.
your mother gets activated.
Yes, because he left her corpse in it
and like she did that through going through Cerebro.
yes.
She activated Cerebro but for brain damage.
Yes, it was,
She activates her mom accidentally.
yeah, the evil AI does it, using her powers.
Using her genetic code, who knows?
Yeah,
Whatever.
who knows?
It doesn't actually matter. And then it activates a matriarch and you kill the matriarch. But later, your mom's activated. She's a demon now. Something's changed. She comes out and no fucking shit. Gears 5's like, here's our brilliant writing decision. We're gonna hand you the button. Who are you gonna kill?
Yes!
And I fucking nearly shit my pants. I'm like, oh, now I understand why Chris Wolfhart was sitting there being like, you will not believe the writing stuff in this game. And I'm like, how? We've gone through Gears. They have one trick, and it's like, what if their trick this time was to hand it to you after they hit it earlier in the game? So you have to choose between Dell and JD. Who's gonna live, Bob? You could throw the knife at the tentacles, and the knife will save one of them.
It's so weird that you would never guess that's where the cutscene's going.
Yeah, because the cutscene's like, oh, she's gonna throw the knife at her, at the Locust Queen.
Yes, absolutely. That's what it feels like is happening. And then the Locust Queen starts going on a tirade about how you have to choose who lives and dies. Like she's freaking, what's that movie series? Saw?
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like that. It makes no sense. You think that I'm going to throw this knife across the room is going to literally save one of them from these tentacles to take many bullets?
For some reason, she's absolutely certain of this. Yes.
Yes. It's bizarre.
She is the famous character from the Saw series, Puzzle Man. And she issues you a puzzle. Are you gonna save the white fascist and prove yourself a racist, or save your friend Cadell? And I'm like, what a riddle!
What a riddle. They try and give JD a tiny bit of a redemption arc.
Yeah, so they can kill him right after.
Yes.
Yeah, it's awful. So yeah, we saved Dell. Then people tell us, hey, there's more in the ending. There are more lines in the ending if you save JD. And I'm like, okay, I don't care.
Right?
There's no world in which I save this guy who's gone red-pilled fascist. I simp for the head of the COG now. Because that was the thing. Like, we haven't even covered that.
Yeah, that weird angle.
It's just, I'm simping for the head of the Pogs.
You almost got through the whole thing.
That's her, the head of the Pogs. She's permanent. We didn't even cover the fertility thing. I don't think it's relevant.
It's not. There's so many random little things just to come and go. Heck, the weather thing isn't even relevant.
No, you go most of the game before that happens again, I feel like, in 5.
Yeah.
I was wondering if they wrote it out entirely by the time it happened in the desert.
Yeah, I thought that it was going to be a thing of, because we have the weather device in 3, I thought we were going to find out someone's using it. And that's what's really happening.
Man, why are you thinking something like that might happen?
Because there'd be any sort of intrigue.
The only time there's a
no.
follow-up to something in an older Gears game is it doing the same thing that it did in an older Gears game. So anyway, you do that, and then you do an absolutely terrible boss fight with the giant tentacle monster again as you stand on this balcony right after you saved either JD or Dell.
Yeah.
And then that's the game.
Oh, and then Jack sacrifices himself, thank God.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
The opening mission of this game is to prove that you care about your robot buddy.
Yes.
And then they immediately go, you're using Jack now. It's like someone somewhere was concerned that you wouldn't feel for a character that wasn't Jack.
Yeah, it's like that first robot was not Jack.
No.
That I forgot.
No, that was Dell's robot. Remember, they were like, fuck the robot, leave him in there as the fucking the rocket takes off. Fuck him, we don't care.
Yeah, but Dell cares.
And then Dell says, it's not his fault, he's a fucking robot. Also, the facial expressions in this one look a lot better than the last game. But then they immediately swap out the robot.
Yeah, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense.
It's infuriating. It really is. It is really, really frustrating. Why did they do any of the things they did?
No.
Why did they do any of the things they did?
Because they're called the Coalition. They have to make a new Gears game, and they have no idea how.
Yeah, I sincerely hope they don't make a Gears 6 is how I feel at the end of this month. I'm done.
That's fair.
They all of the story things they set up suck. I didn't think when I got to Gears 4 it was going to be just as story thin as Gears 1 through 3, where it's like, well, this one's about her mom being Locust Queen child. And I'm like, but we killed her in 4, and it's like, but she's back. And I'm like, okay, cool. You kept up the worst Gears tradition. Last game didn't matter.
Yeah. Oh man.
Last game didn't matter. I'm very excited for like the next game where they're gonna be like, she's back, and I'm like, she never left, and now there are 2. There are gonna be 2 Locust Queens. And I'm gonna be like, you guys accidentally thought she was dead? That didn't happen last game. Nothing did.
For a moment, I thought the giant monster, the tremor creature.
Yeah, the Graboid. Yeah.
I thought that she.
Tremors from the movie Graboid.
Yes, I thought that was the Locust Queen, like just the part of her body we didn't see. And then after we kill it, she's still around. I was like, I guess not. I guess we accomplished literally nothing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So Bob, I think we've said enough about Gears 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is time we rank this shit.
I feel like Gears 5 might have to just slot in right under 4, which is insane.
Yeah, because 4 sucks.
4 is awful.
Yeah.
I like the writing in 5 so much more.
They get rid of the weapon fabricator in 5.
They do. We don't do random horde missions like we do in 4. It's just instead we get this huge empty world.
It's like, hey, don't you want more jack powers? You get your jack upgrades when you go jack off in the Arctic forest. And I'm like, I don't want to jack off. And they're like, listen, motherfucker, you need to jack off.
Right now.
Right now. And I'm like, there aren't even holes for me to jack off in this one. Do it.
Okay.
Put it at the bottom.
Gears 5, the worst Gears game. So bottom to top. Gears 5. 7th place, worst in the series.
Yeah.
Gears 4, 6th place. Almost the worst in the series. They tried really hard.
This feels bad. In no world did I want to see the same shit 343 did.
I know, right? It shouldn't be the same arc.
You could hear me on that stream in Gears 3 being like, well, whatever happens from here, they'll probably fuck up in new interesting ways.
They did.
But it wasn't interesting.
No. New ways, yes.
Yes.
5th place, Gears 3.
Okay. It feels bad to put that close to 4.
It does. Like there should be.
If only
a
we
bigger
had a
power
bunch of
gap.
spin-off games to fit in here. During a theme month, that's usually what you get. It's like, we could fit a Castlevania Judgment in here.
Right, but this
right
is
here.
not many RC months have been about these more modern franchises from 7th gen, where it was literally just.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
we've
Halo.
done Infamous. We've done Infamous.
Halo.
Yes,
But,
but
like-
that's a 6th gen game.
Right, and these things, neither of those got that many spin-offs for
That is
Infamous
true.
at least.
Yeah. Like we did Spartan Assault, we did Halo Wars 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, there aren't enough spin-offs to really fill out either of these lists.
No.
It's really weird because they did Gears Tactics, and it was funny because we were talking about Gears Tactics protagonist having a much better design than anyone in 4 or 5.
Yes, and I was more interested in what the story was doing just in that first
100%.
hour.
They fucking nailed
Like,
it.
Yeah.
Like
it's
I was
weird.
like, ooh, I'm in. Meanwhile, 4 and 5 start, and I'm like, ooh, maybe not.
No.
It's like, oh, cool, your introduction to the story in 5 is a fascist? Because Foz is just out of the gate like, hey, what's up, I suck.
Yes.
He seems like he's supposed to be satire, someone from like a Middle East set movie during like the war on terror.
Right,
Like
but
he's
then-
supposed to be one of those guys, the soldier with no empathy.
Yeah, like what a Hayes dude.
Right.
But they don't.
Hayes Pissman.
Yes, they don't like take advantage of that. So it doesn't even come off as satire. It just comes off of this thing they wrote.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. It's really weird, and once again, it feels bad to put 3 and 4 right next to each other. But that is the list so far. It's what is it? Gears 5 at 7th.
Yes.
Gears 4 at 6th. Gears 3 at 5th.
Yep.
Where are we going from there?
Fourth place is Gears 1.
Okay.
And I still feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. Right above that, we got third place, Gears Judgment. Mm-hmm. Really maybe underrated gem at looking at this list, maybe.
I mean, yeah, I thought I was gonna want to fucking put Barrett's head in a blender from how everyone described it, and I was like, yeah, the problem is that it's a prequel.
Right. And then second place goes to.
Well, wait, real quick.
What's
I
up?
just want to say, the real problem is that it's a prequel, and seemingly the entire point of the game is to explain why the black guy's in charge. Because in Judgment, they explain why Barrett isn't in command of the troop. And this is a huge story moment. And Coltrane goes, I'll always treat you as my CO or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Gears games have some stories, man.
They do.
There's someone in a room where no mic was turned on, where he's just like, they'll figure out the mystery of why Cole's in charge. And it's like,
Mystery.
Anyway.
I don't want to think about all of the undertones everywhere in this franchise.
Yeah.
There's a ton.
Well, that's okay. They ripped out most of those undertones with 4 and 5 and replaced it with horrible quips.
They did. Oh man. Okay.
So what's in second place,
second
Baba?
place, Kill.Switch.
Cool.
What a delightful game.
What a delightful game with no weird tones, but it does have a wife in scene, but it has the kind you want, where they sit there and they hold their loved one and they go, ah! So that's what you want.
Yeah, that's what. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. My wife died. We're just having fun here. It's like, oh, jeez, what am I gonna do with this? It's like Carl from Aqua Teen. Oh, jeez, she's fucking dead. They get Adam Baldwin as the bad guy, but then they get Carl from Aqua Teen as the good guy.
He needs more work. Yeah, it's
He
great.
does. Yeah, absolutely. What's the best Gears of War game, though?
I think it's a mystery. The best Gears of War game is Gears of War 2.
No shit.
The executive producers for this month on GigaBoots are Esme, Ely Broyles, Spaceman Spiff, Red Blade 27, Brendan O'Sullivan, The Plan, Super Tank, Very Best Plot, Iconic Bane, and